enunciate.
Don't rip the microphone to shreds with your T's. I have to use like 3 de-essers on your.
I don't know what that means, but how rude.
When you go, it goes.
I don't know. How do you do it without being really explosive?
I don't know. Just pretty cool like that, I guess.
You're just a natural
Speaking of which.
person.
Hello and welcome back to Siblings in Zion.
Hello.
I'm Brother Dan.
I'm Sister Lisa.
And it's the day after Thanksgiving, 2020. Hashtag give thanks. Am I right? We won't even go into that.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
So we had our own Thanksgiving, the two of us, and our parents had their own Thanksgiving, and our other family members had their own Thanksgiving, because even though it seems like we've been oppressed and kept at home and locked away for years,
Suppressed.
it's still going.
This year has been years.
Feels like it. And it's not getting any better. It's only gotten worse because people aren't getting any smarter, apparently, or caring anymore. So here we are. And you know how we've heard that anyone who wants a test can get one?
Wrong.
You ever heard that? Well, brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you, I testify that that is not the case. Because our sister Lisa here was sent home from work because she was in close contact with a positive case, and our county website says anyone who has symptoms or is deemed in close contact with a positive case needs to get a test. Here are the places you can get a test. And we talked to those places, and they said if you don't have symptoms, no, you don't get a test. So
False advertising.
we've been living in uncertainty for 10 days now?
Something like that.
So that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, all I heard was congratulations, you get a 2-week paid vacation.
Yeah, that's
I'm
cool
not
for you.
complaining.
But then we couldn't let you go near our parents.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure.
That's true.
And then I don't know
And then I don't know.
what my exposure is. If you were to be positive, I have no idea.
Nope.
So it's really stupid.
It's okay. We had pizza. It's all okay.
And Lisa also made a very delicious Thanksgiving meal
Thank you.
yesterday. It was great. And it's still full.
My stomach still remembers that we did that.
Whew. Okay. So this is just going to be a catch up and
Ketchup.
check in little episode since we haven't done one in a while again. And we got plans. We got plans coming up. But I think, let's see, this is episode 18.
It is.
Yeah. And if we do 2 more, that's 10 for this season. I think we'll wrap it up there, but then keep going and we'll plan out episodes more and
Yeah. Tell me about that plan.
build stuff up to come in strong on season 3. Maybe in the spring.
3.
I want to talk King Follett Discourse.
Right. You got the pamphlet.
I got the pamphlet.
We got pamphlets.
Book report!
Book report!
Yeah, some more book reports, but also some more select topics of Mormon doctrine and Mormon life. I want to talk about tithing.
I don't. Just kidding.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're going to get into it. So, what are you thankful for this year? It's hard. It's hard to be grateful.
Well, it's actually not really, because when I think back at how this year started and where
Sure.
I was, a lot has changed since then. And
Yeah,
you and
that's
I
true.
were just talking about how we can't believe that I could, theoretically still be in China.
Yeah.
If I didn't come home when I did. So I'm very grateful to not be in that position.
Yeah.
And that I have a job, even though they kicked me out for the time being. I'm really grateful for my intuition and being able to relearn how to make decisions without prayer.
Yeah.
And being able to be cognizant of when something feels right and when timing feels right and when it doesn't.
Yeah.
and listening to that this year has helped me so much.
So what you're saying is you're listening to a still small voice.
I am, but it's not
it's
as still
yours.
and small as the one before. Yeah, you're right. It sounds oddly like me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Weird. But at the same time,
what I meant is it's easy to see why it can be easy to be pessimistic during this this situation.
Absolutely. It's not ideal for anybody.
The fires, the COVID,
the injustice.
There's many things compounding on us this year. But if there is a God to thank, I thank him for whatever he did to allow. No, really, I just think the American people who there were just enough, a disappointing margin, but a winning margin nonetheless, that denied Donald Trump another term in the office of the presidency, because the first one was such a mistake and such a fucking nightmare, and the end is in sight. It's still terrible. He's still acting like a terrible person because he is. And it's really disappointing to see that he can't even find any modicum of decency on his way out to save any face. He's just wailing and whining and making things up. But the juxtaposition against Joe Biden already taking action, already taking steps and putting things in place as much as he can, because he's only just been allowed to start a transition into the office. It's all he has to do is not act like a asshole.
Yeah.
And he looks like the Messiah or something. It's like, thank you. He's not the number one draft pick.
No.
Of the progressives, the liberals, but he's a solid choice. He's been doing this for a long time. He clearly is a good person trying to do good things. And I haven't seen that in a while.
In a long time.
It's surprising, but very reassuring to see. Even somebody like Lindsey Graham, who is not so much a great person day to day. I even saw him say, if you don't think Joe Biden is a good person, then you need to get your head checked, because he just is.
Wow.
So
I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Transition.
Like I said before, it's like, imagine you go like 3 or 4 days and you might even have to think, oh, I wonder what the president's up to. I wonder what he said lately, rather than just being annihilated by a barrage of insanity almost every single day for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
He said what?
He's
doing what? He appointed who to be in charge? What?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't want to hear it anymore.
I don't. Get out.
Get it out. Go away. Shut up.
All right, that's all we'll say about that, but I'm just so relieved.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what you're most grateful for.
Yeah. There is some relief in this year of a lot of not. What's the antithesis of relief?
Anxiety? Turbulence?
Grief.
Yeah.
A year of grief.
It's a year of grief. Good grief. Did you want to read some mail?
I did. We've been saying and mentioning several of the past episodes that we had some correspondence from some very nice and supportive people that we wanted to share, and we have yet to do it.
Some correspondence.
But what a great opportunity on this just post-Thanksgiving time to do so.
That is very fitting.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that we did this on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So a few months back, I think this was just after the first season was wrapped up, we got an email from a man who referred to himself as Poppy, which I loved straight away. Dear siblings, I absolutely love your podcast. I applaud the strength and balls it takes to escape the religious chains which have duped millions of folk through the ages. I applaud Dan for being a trailblazer, and my heart goes out to Lisa because the aforementioned episode sounds as if Sister Lisa is suffering symptoms of withdrawal. I don't quite remember which episode he's referring to.
Maybe he's talking about the Ballad of Sister Lisa? I don't know.
It could be.
I can't really remember any other title than that, though.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm sure you've shown the signs of that in several of them. Religion is a drug, and like any drug, you must detoxify. Lean on your brother Dan. He will show you the way to regain your true identity, Lisa. Your brother Dan will allow you to be human, and he will do it with honesty, care, intelligence, and a wicked sense of humor. Thank you. As a father, grandfather, and now great-grandfather, this guy has great-grandkids. It makes me so very happy to see siblings who genuinely care for one another. Dan and Lisa are not influenced by Satan, nor have they lost their souls. Nope, you two are what the Creator has meant siblings to truly be. Don't let the bastards get you down. Keep going the directions your hearts tell you. With the hearts both of you have, you two will never go wrong. Thank you once again for making an old fart boomer like me believe there are still real people out there. Grace and peace, Poppy.
So sweet.
What my grandkids and great-grandkids call me. That was really neat to get. I emailed him back and told him as much. That was really nice to hear.
Yeah, it was.
For that man to take the time out of his day to tell us that he was listening and we're reaching somebody like that who has probably heard it all.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Yeah. Thank you, Poppy, if you're listening. We appreciate that. And there was an Instagram message that we got at one point.
Oh, did we?
We did.
Oh,
And
lay it on me.
so I don't know the name of this person, but the handle is Son of Perdition 666. So, but I think this was after our episode that we labeled Prayer versus Probability.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Lisa and Dan. Love the show. I listened to the latest episode and something caught my attention. I think it was Dan that gave an example of when prayers don't work. And the example was someone praying before a trip and then getting into a car accident. That actually did happen to me. My brother and I were in a serious accident, and of course, no prayers or blessings helped. I remember feeling so betrayed by God, and after all the prayers and blessings, how could this happen? I left the LDS church a few months later after finding out it wasn't true. And I just wanted to thank you guys for the work you put in to make the show. Unlike prayers and blessings, what you guys do actually helps people. I feel supported and recognized when I listen, so thank you for that. Keep up the great work. I'm excited to listen to future episodes. I mean, that's...
Again, so validating.
Right? And I told him, we have enough fun doing this that it's worth doing just for that.
Mm-hmm.
But to know that we are actually reaching people is very, very cool to hear.
Yeah, it is.
Especially somebody who's been through something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you again for sending that.
I was thinking about why people make things, and I was thinking about, how we do this, and it really doesn't ever cross my mind sometimes that anyone listens.
Right.
We just kind of sit down with headphones on and talk to each other.
Yep.
And
it's really more for us than anything else.
Really therapeutic.
Yeah. I don't know if we mentioned it prior when we talked about how members of our family have found out what we're doing, and
oh yeah,
my grandma was like, but you're putting out this message for millions of people to hear.
Millions?
Like, Grandma, trust me. Not that many people are hearing what we're talking about.
Oh, that's funny.
And most of the people, I'm sure, we're not convincing them of anything they're not already convinced of.
Absolutely.
We're just adding our voices to the conversation. And maybe we have some unique perspective and unique take on things, but we're not out to take anyone away from something that they want to be in.
Yeah, no.
We're not seeking to destroy what is good. We happen to think that this church called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not good. And we're talking about why we find that to be the case. And there's truly nothing wrong with that. Because, like it is said, if you have the truth, it can't be harmed. And if it's not the truth, it ought to be harmed.
Way to use their own quotes against you.
So, it's fine.
Was that all the correspondence you wanted to relate?
Yeah, those were the significant ones that I have been intending to share.
Thank you for reading those.
Yes.
That was lovely to hear.
So how is your existential crisis coming along?
Oh, great. It's getting
Pretty
bigger
good?
every day. That's what you want, right?
Yeah. More
More of it.
is better?
More.
Yeah.
Blow it up. That's all
Nope.
I want to think about.
No, but really.
No, but really. Really, though?
Really, though. I feel like it seems like you're doing better
Then what?
since we did the last episode, I guess. We're
Okay.
talking about...
I don't know.
well-
I don't know. Maybe in some ways, but in other ways... when you say, how's your existential crisis, are you saying in relation to yours? Like, it's like, oh, how's your existential crisis today? Are you not having one?
I'm not having a crisis.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Not at this time.
Not at this current moment, or not this year, or...
There's been moments this year. Things
Okay.
have seemed pretty... thoughts have crushed my mind a few times, but it's not a day-to-day thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say over the last month it has been a day-to-day thing that I am trying really hard to combat with positive thinking and, trying to implement those tools of mindfulness that I spend a lot of time trying to learn about and tune into people who talk about that with platforms that are generally helpful,
Mm-hmm.
like Sam Harris and, others and such.
And sitch.
And such. But I think in some ways that's helpful for me to learn about and identify the nature of the human mind, that thoughts are not facts.
Mm-hmm.
I try to frequently remind myself of those things that I believe. But sometimes it's almost like, even though I have the vocabulary for it and I think it should help, sometimes I feel like it makes it worse, because then I can say, oh, I know exactly what's going on, and yet I'm still powerless to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Seemingly. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm. You're just
I don't get it.
you're on the ride. You're in the seat on the roller coaster and you're just moving along.
But why?
But why though? What's the point? Where are we going?
Oh, why? Yeah, I've felt a lot of anger
Yes.
the last little
I guess
while.
what I'm getting at is I've seen less anger.
Okay.
Lately.
Okay. That's interesting to hear from someone not in my perspective.
Mhm.
I just feel like I've been driving myself a little bit crazy.
Mm.
I was listening to Alan Watts and lectures from Ram Dass and listening to Sam Harris's podcast and reading a book by Sam Harris's wife about consciousness. And
Her name is Annika. She has her own
I'm
name.
so sorry. I just
Okay.
did a very Mormon thing to her. Oh no! I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that at all. Oh no!
No, I'm sure she's been referred to as that
yeah.
a lot.
And President Nelson's wife.
Yeah. Ugh.
Anyway, I just feel like there's a lot of ideas in my head, and I was listening to that You Made It Weird episode, one of the many that
With Pete Holmes.
Pete Holmes and his wife talk. Oh my God, I just did it again. Pete and Val.
Uh-huh.
And she says something that I've been struggling with too, that it just seems like there's so many teachers. A lot of the time, their teachings seem to contradict each other.
Mm.
And if they don't contradict each other, they're using different enough language that it sounds as though they're talking about the same thing, but differ in a conflicting way. I don't know. It just doesn't always match up in my head. And if one person says this, if Alan Watts says it like this, and Ram Dass says it like this, and the Buddha says it like this, and
It's almost as though you can't trust your entire intellectual life to one source. That's not really a good idea to live an informed, pragmatic life.
You're right.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Spread it out.
Yeah. I think that's something hard for me, is coming from a singular knowledge source and thinking that's the correct way to do it.
Quote unquote knowledge.
Quote unquote. So drawing from one information source primarily. Heavily.
Information.
air quotes, it's hard for me to then move into this multiple sources.
Mhm.
What word would that be? Like pan information, like just trying to draw.
Pantheon.
Yeah, drawing from this pantheon of information, but it's just really hard because then I'm like, well, what's true? Is anything true?
Well, exactly. Can we really, truly know anything?
Yeah.
It seems like there's very little that we can say, I know this
Right.
to be true.
Yeah.
So we can just use our judgment to find what seems to fit our actual experience and try to gain as much insight as we can as to what that experience really means and what we can take from that experience to allow ourselves to keep moving forward, with as little fear and anxiety and worry as possible surrounding the ultimate destination.
I see what you're saying. I want to be able to accept that some things are right for lots of people.
Mhm.
Some things don't work for other people. And maybe something works for me that won't work for you. And it's hard for me to realize that we don't all have to be the same.
Yeah.
That we don't all.
We don't all have
We're
to
not
believe
all
the
children of
same
God
things.
that have to do all the right ordinances
No, we
and
definitely
keep
don't
all
have
the commandments that we can all live with God forever.
We definitely don't have to all sign up for the same club. That's a problem.
Yeah. And some days I want to be part of one club and some days I want to be part of a different club.
And you have the freedom to do so. That's nice.
That is nice.
Looking to people who are claiming things to be from an unseen, unheard source, be it God or space aliens or something like that.
Oh my God. We watched NXIVM. We never talked about that.
Oh, we did, yeah. The Vow.
Right. The Vow. Makes it sound like The Bachelorette or something.
No, it sounds like The Covenant or something like that.
Scary stuff.
The Vow is about what can safely be described as a cult that was a purported self-help group called NXIVM, spelled with a ridiculous way.
Roman numerals.
Led by an already known fraud of a man, con man named Keith Raniere, who got a lot of people involved in this faux self-help business, self-improvement series of courses, and ultimately corralled a group of women who were branded with a logo that was a combination of his initials and
Allison
Max, who was leading her own little subgroup. It's very much similar to Scientology in that it's total bullshit, but without so much of the science fiction stuff.
But lots of levels.
Pseudo-scientific, pseudo-intellectual, pseudo-psychological stuff that this guy, he's clearly not a stupid person, but he's clearly extremely manipulative. And he was just convicted, which is amazing. I think he was sentenced to 120 years in prison.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I think Allison Mack still has to be sentenced.
It was good. I did feel like it didn't
overlong.
need to be as long as it was. But I did appreciate that those that were speaking in the documentary about their firsthand experiences stressed the fact that when people look from the outside in on a situation like that, they don't understand the psychological principles and processes that someone goes through.
Of how people can get sucked into something like this, what attracts them to it, and what keeps them in.
Yeah. And why it's so hard.
You're told, don't listen to the outside.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've given you the truth here and you don't want to leave it.
It's so hard to break away.
Keep paying for it.
Plus.
That's the key.
We need your money.
For it.
Yeah, I really appreciated, what was his name? Mark?
Yeah.
That he made that statement that people don't join a cult. They join something that they think is good.
Yeah. Nobody thinks they're in a cult.
No.
Pretty much.
Until You do.
until you realize it, which they are very honest about how that finally revealed itself
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
Or they uncovered it, or they finally realized enough information that was not acceptable, and then turned their attention to what they had actually just been through and how it didn't make sense and how it was actually extremely destructive.
Yeah.
So
Also a good opportunity to process
Yeah.
personal experience with that.
mhm. Choose your prophets wisely.
Right. I guess that's what I'm doing is I'm choosing new prophets.
You could say that, except they're not trying to be prophetic. They're just trying to be insightful and help you help
Sure.
yourself.
Right. I think that is something that I am slowly starting to understand better.
Yeah.
That I can make decisions based on my gut, my
Mhm.
intuition, what I want.
And also know that that is fallible.
Yes.
There's help out there to rein yourself in.
Yeah.
Thinking and examining things for yourself and cross-examining things on a scale,
Right.
not the Bible, not the Book of Mormon.
Yeah. There's a spectrum of ways to confirm.
And it's really a sliding scale of like, how much can you confirm something to be one
Right.
way or the other? There's really not a 0 and there's really not a 100 for almost everything.
Yeah.
You're just trying to find as close as you can which way it goes.
Yeah.
For you.
Right. I want to do what feels right and do what feels good. But I also want to live whatever I think is the best life, not just for me, but for other people.
Yeah. Doing the best for yourself without taking away or harming someone else.
I don't want to do that. It's harder than I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes effort.
Yeah,
But it can be, I think, much more rewarding than just sticking to the straight and narrow and holding on to the iron rod until you die.
Right.
And pay 10% of everything. And fast offerings.
Bless. It's been a weird looping
Mm-hmm.
in my mind of, I think that this is right, but if thoughts are just thoughts, if my whole life is an illusion, then what am I so worried about?
But that's an
But it is real, so
that is an intellectually honest approach.
But if I'm not a self, then who's even having these thoughts and why does it matter? And if all of this comes and goes and I barely remember any of it the next day, what am I stressing out so much about? And
there you go.
why am I so anxious about things that I don't need to be anxious about and have no control over? And most of the things I worry about will probably never happen. And all I can experience is this moment. But what is this moment and where are we? And I can't stop.
See, there is insight in there. You don't have to take away everything that you just went through. What is helpful? What is useful to take forward?
It's so exhausting.
I think
constant.
I think it gets less exhausting. You're only a couple of years into this. You know? There's still years ahead. Things will keep slotting into place and you will continue to shed.
Yeah, but what if there's not years ahead?
That doesn't matter. What's that?
Like, what if there's not years ahead?
Then it doesn't matter.
Then why am I working so hard?
Because all you can assume is that you're going to wake up tomorrow and go through another cycle of a day to try to do your best. And you have picked up on things that help you get through that day without being a wreck of a person. There's books. You've been doing yoga every day.
That does help.
There's meditation is very helpful.
Yes.
And we've been watching Mad Men, which I think is
nice.
Quite nice.
Yeah.
We even joked the last time, like, there's all these shows to watch, and I just want to watch Mad Men again, and we are doing that. We just got into season 3.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I just like living in that world for 40 minutes at a time.
Even though a lot of it's
there's a lot of misogyny, there's a lot, but it really shows our culture for what it was.
Right.
And thankfully it isn't still to that degree, but it's still definitely parts of it exist. But it's also just gorgeous.
Yeah, every frame is just a beautiful image. Beautiful
And there's
picture.
a lot of like real human stuff.
Yeah.
Relationships and
One of the things that I've been contemplating most, and I don't know if this is helping me or driving me more crazy, but now that I think in terms of I'm an animal
mm-hmm.
after reading The Denial of Death.
Yeah. A special animal.
And not I'm a god in embryo. It's completely changed my perspective. And I'm starting to see this earth from kind of a higher plane and almost imagining that I'm looking down on humanity from up above and watching what we do as humans, that if you look at it through a lens of these are just another kind of animal, this is a very strange animal.
Yeah.
We do a lot of very strange things through the lens of our symbolic self.
It's an evolved animal, an animal nonetheless.
Right. But so much of my anxiety comes from me being an animal and having tendencies that don't fit in a society that wants me to be symbolic and to operate in a way that coincides with the structure for what we think is normal, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Even just the fact that we walk around on 2 feet all the time and we're not
trying to stand up straight,
really allowed to vary from that, or people look at us weird. But when a child does it, it's okay. You know? There was an exercise we would do. Yeah. There was an exercise we would do in theater class where we had to get from point to point in a creative way. We couldn't just walk. You had to dance. You had to act like another animal, crawl around, hop, whatever. But I understand what that exercise was supposed to do now. At the time, it didn't make any sense. It was like fun, but now I see kind of a lesson in it that most of the things we do are just because we were taught to do them that way.
Mm-hmm.
To get along in a social group. Again, it's just really helpful for me to realize that a lot of those things aren't because they're right, aren't because they're even important. It's just how we've done them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's so weird to think that I used to believe that I was destined to become something after this life that could create more people. What? And now I'm like, yeah, I am an animal with innate instincts and I'll just die eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Just like everything else. When you look at a dead squirrel, you're not like, oh no, this dead squirrel with so much individuality and uniqueness.
What about its squirrel children?
What about its dreams? It had so much left to accomplish. You just see a dead squirrel.
Yeah.
You know, like you've seen hundreds of times. Yeah. If we could look at ourselves like we look at dead squirrels.
That's pretty much what we are absolutely avoiding.
Like we're just a collection of cells that can think about thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And we think we're so special. And talk about it. We've created this language that helps us communicate what we're thinking inside, which, oh my God, if we didn't have that would be terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But we think we're so special and we just are so close to this narrative we tell ourselves all day.
Yep.
But it's not real.
A lot of it isn't.
I mean, what is though? Like my name is Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the first facts anybody will ever want to know about me that doesn't know me already.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, my name is Lisa. This is the collection of sounds that I respond to.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really mean anything.
I mean, a dog knows its name, but it couldn't tell it. It couldn't tell it to you.
Sure.
Woof.
It's Benjamin! And it's like this whole story I have about myself is just a story.
Mm-hmm.
We're so good at making up stories. And don't get me wrong, I love stories and it makes life really enjoyable.
I like my stories.
I like my stories. But we treat them like the end-all be-all of existence. When really we're just a bunch of squirrels that are trying not to get hit by cars.
A lot of us have stuck to the idea that this one collection of stories that we call the Bible is the only collection of stories that really truly matters.
Yeah.
And everything has to fit into that narrative, that system of beliefs, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it's so funny that we think that that's so old.
No, it's not.
And it's not. I mean, humans are just such a young species on this planet.
Even though they're a lot older than the Bible will
True.
tell you that it is.
And we think, oh, wow, China's so old. It has so much ancient history. And it's like, what?
Ancient Rome.
It's even if it's old to us.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, 2,000 years is a long time.
Sure.
But there's been a lot more years before that.
Exactly. And I'm just floating around here.
And I'm
trying
just
to
like,
make sense of it all.
What?
And
Derp.
trying so hard to like glean something from this experience before it's over. And it just feels like it's all slipping away from me when I try.
Yeah.
And you can't really do anything but experience it. But some people's experience is horrible.
Yes.
And I recognize that my particular version of this existence is a really good one.
Mhm.
But it's still so hard for me cognitively to not understand what's happening. And that is my greatest suffering.
That's where they say things like more money, more problems. Like you cannot escape the reality that is human existence. Doesn't matter how much you have, how much you do, where you go, how much you understand. It's still there to some degree.
Yeah.
You don't escape it.
No. And it's terrifying. The world is terrifying.
That's
the story I tell myself.
That's just your opinion, man.
What I mean by that is the potential for danger and harm and sadness and pain is so scary.
The potential for that kind of thing has gone way, way down.
Sure.
In the time that we live in now.
Yeah.
Still there.
Sure.
But we're surrounded by walls most of the time.
Right.
Most of the wild beasts can't get to us. Hardly ever. We have to put ourselves in that kind of danger.
Yeah. That is
but
nice.
we are still animals, and some of these animals turn on each other. And that's scary.
Yeah, it is. And I've never personally experienced that. But to know that it's possible.
Yeah. But that's part of the religious, it's one of the weapons in their arsenal. Fear of people who are non-believers.
Yeah.
If they don't have a belief in God, then they're amoral, they're unethical, they're dangerous.
When you walk around, do you actually have the thought or the actual expectation that someone could hurt you? Does my question make sense?
I recognize the possibility. It hardly ever crosses the threshold where there's some sort of fight or flight engagement.
Right.
Like I potentially am in danger right now.
Yeah. Like someone's walking towards you on the sidewalk and they're getting closer to you than you would
Sometimes
like.
that rises up a bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, should I cross the street or should I make eye contact or avoid?
So you do have these thought processes. Do you think everybody does? Because I'm not necessarily afraid of that person. It's just my brain being like, oh, that's a new person. I don't know them.
Yeah.
I'm taking in the information of the surrounding.
You have
these surroundings
very
so that
little
I can,
choice in that cognitive
response.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be afraid of people.
Right.
But those thoughts also don't seem like something that I'm producing. They just occur.
And there's a biological reason for that. There's also, I mean, the nightly news hardly ever tells you anything good.
Yeah.
It's like, this person did this terrible thing to these people and this place, and it could be you. So lock your doors.
Yeah. I think that is such a stark contrast to me in my personal life, though, because I've never had anybody do anything of that of the nature that you hear on the news.
Usually the dangerous people, who may even be just dangerous to themselves, usually make it apparent.
What do you mean?
They're loud. They're boisterous.
Yeah.
And you can sometimes hear them before you see them. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, where's that coming from?
Right.
I need to stay away from that.
Like a barking dog.
Yeah, pretty much.
I also wonder how much of my behavior and how much of human behavior is performed just to avoid those kind of confrontations. I know that if I act this way, I know how to appease people, I know how to please people, and I know that if I do this for them and in these public places that I won't get hurt.
Yeah. Some people turn on when that kind of stuff comes around them.
What do you mean?
They just they like engage with threatening situations.
And I do everything I can to avoid them. It's just such a weird thing to believe that people have free choice and that all of their behavior is willing, and then to believe...
It's really not, though.
No, I know, but I'm saying I used to think that way. I
Right.
used to see people that way. I used to see life as just this drama that people had agency in. And now I just see people with brains.
Products of their genetics and their social, economic
Exactly.
situations and
That have neurotransmitters.
what they ate that day.
And are sending all of these hormonal signals. And did they sleep? And most of the time, if people are upset or angry or do something that offends you, it's acting out of their own feelings about themselves. And life makes a lot more sense now with this lens, but also it's just like, what is happening?
What?
What is going on?
Come on!
That's where I am.
Well, I'm glad I asked.
Thanks for
Sometimes
asking.
when we haven't done this for a while, I'm like, what should we talk about? What are we even going to talk about? Do we have enough to talk about for a whole episode? And then here we are.
All you have to do is ask me about what my anxiety levels are.
How are you doing?
So how are you? Well, let me tell you.
I am thankful for you.
Me?
For you. Being here with me this year would have been, it seems unmeasurable how much more difficult it would have been had you not been here to
for me too.
go through it with.
Yeah.
I am grateful for that. And I'm grateful that you cook a lot. Like I told you, it was never my intention to take you away or convince you to make any decision that you didn't want to make. But having you on this side of the conversation with me sure is better than what it was, because we've always been close, but it was only so close that we could actually be with this line of theology and lack of theology between us. And there was a lot of times where you could see that the bridge was there, but neither one of us felt like we could really cross it.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Until you made the choice to examine for yourself. And I thought if you were to ever cross that bridge, it wouldn't be for years. It happened a lot sooner than...
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, but that just goes to show that people can believe very, very strongly and then realize that they're under a delusion. And if you have a sense of intellectual honesty, a real desire to know as many true things as possible and to not believe as many false things as possible, that you too can divorce yourself from a state of mind that is, and beliefs that you have always considered true to really actually not be. It is possible.
I am really grateful for that.
I have seen you reach potential that I don't think you would have otherwise.
Thank you. I wouldn't be here without you.
Yeah, but it's not my fault.
Yeah, but it's not my fault. Is what I'm saying.
I didn't make you do it.
I didn't do anything.
I say that because I know that it's so hard for people to understand that I wasn't like, look at this.
Look at it.
Come with me.
Yeah.
Come with me. I will change you.
I have candy.
Yummy. I just said, look at this. Just look at this. Take this. I don't think you know this. I don't think you...
Yeah.
fit this into your your puzzle. And if it still fits for you,
then great.
okay, but you're missing this piece.
True.
I don't think you realize that.
That's true. That's a good analogy.
I'm trying to do that. I've taken the same approach with our other sister, with our mother. Someday I hope to take that approach with our father,
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a longer, bumpier road.
Right.
But I will say I'm also very grateful that our family thus far is not like those that people leaving religions and groups like this fear that their families might be.
True.
And have been.
Yeah. We're pretty lucky.
I, very recently had a honest and real conversation with our mother that would not have been possible even just a few years ago, because she's been doing a lot of work on herself, which I appreciate. As I've opened doors and seen that there's room to go in, I have gone in, and it gets a little easier to be a little more honest and a little more truthful, no matter how hard some of the conversations may be or subject matters. And the more honest I am, I see less pushback. I see more invitations to like, okay, this isn't hurting as much as I feared it would. You're not hurting me with what you're talking about, so let's move it forward a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's been good.
That is good. I am grateful that we have the power to change our thoughts.
It's nice to realize that.
Yes. Because when you think you're the actor rather than the one being acted upon a lot of the time, it's hard to see it. But your thoughts are your life. Even though they're an illusion, they create how you experience whatever is happening around you.
And that is true for us all. And might we all realize that.
Might we
and have greater understanding and compassion for each other.
In this rough, hard journey.
Amen.
Amen.
Count your many blessings. All right, well, there we go. It's another episode of Siblings in Zion.
Siblings in Zion. Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
If anyone struggles with what Lisa struggles with, please let her know.
Yeah, please send emails, DMs. You can engage with us on Twitter. At Siblings in Zion. We have over 100 followers now. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
I haven't had my own Twitter account for a long time, but our feed is finally curated with good people talking about cool things. So I check in with that now and again. Thank you for spearheading all of that technology stuff. Well, I have an idea for the next one, and hopefully I'm not going to make any promises, but hopefully we'll have it to you in a somewhat timely manner. All right. Until next time.
Adios.